Okay, we are live. So what's up, guys? Thanks for joining BoostRodeo Live tonight. This week, we're really excited. We've got Zach Wingfield, who most of you guys probably know him as ZWING or knows film company ZWING Films.
What's up?
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. So you do like everything. It's cars, it's filming, it's drifting. You've been to SEMA several times with builds. Like, what don't you do?
I don't do roller derby.
Okay, that's good. I've seen you dabble in some cooking on your channel.
Yep, we made a little late breakfast today. Just hanging out.
It's a really late breakfast.
Yeah, I've been up editing all night, so
I know how that goes.
Woke up pretty late today. So
sweet. And so anybody who's in the comments, we're going to do our best to answer all your questions and kind of work those in between our own. So fire away, and we'll take a couple breaks and kind of turn to you guys for some stuff periodically through this. So Josh, keep me honest on that and do your best to watch it, because I'm horrible.
Our last few lives have gone so ridiculously long. We've set times, but you start talking cars and things just get out of control. Have a couple of cold beers. I'm down in Bend, so that's what's going to happen tonight. We'll see how it goes. I'll monitor the chat, so bear with me as we get the questions snuck in there. We'll do our best to get Zach to answer whatever you guys have to ask.
Are you at the Oxenford in Bend?
Spring Hill.
Where?
Spring Hill.
Oh, never heard of it.
Marriott.
That would have been hilarious if all things. So Zach, I wanted to talk first about some of the film stuff you've done. Like, you've gone to some crazy places. Like, this is one of your videos in Dubai that you did for Ceramic Pro, which is just freaking incredible. I mean, the cars you lined up for that, and just the opportunity to go way over there is insane.
Yeah, and it really helped having a client who was really motivated to make an awesome video, because that was all him. He pulled in all those resources, and that's something I took away from that job was, when I do future work for clients, I always encourage them, hey, whatever resources you have, bring them to the table, because your video is only going to be as good as what you make it. I can film, I can show up and film, but I'm going to need something to film. I can't come to a random country and just like start making things happen. I can try and use my network. It doesn't always work out that way. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, I bet, especially when you're that far from home.
Oh yeah. And
that video right there, by the way, that white car, that's Ahmad the Hum. He's the Red Bull RCF drifter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was him in his old S15.
That's insane. So how did you go about lining up that job? Like, in terms of just commercial shoot, like, what was the connection there?
So I met Arash in San Diego on the 2013 Target Trophy Holiday Cruise, which I think was actually my first supercar rally I even attended. And he's just been following my work ever since he met me. And then, 2-3 years later, he's like, hey, we need to do something. And so,
hey, thanks for representing 619, by the way.
Yeah. You from San Diego?
Absolutely.
Right on. Yeah. Target Trophy's rad. Ceramic Pro was like brand new. A bunch of investors from a bunch of different countries all came together and made this company, and it blew up overnight, especially after this video came out. This thing has been playing streaming in detail shops like all around the world, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome to put something out and have that kind of longevity on it too, because to be honest, like, the video aged super well. It still looks great. It's not, you know what I mean? You wouldn't know this was shot a couple years ago.
Thanks. And the song, I was editing this video in my villa in Thailand on my way to Australia when Lean On showed up on my SoundCloud feed. This is before the song even hit the radio. So
really?
The song actually made a big impact on this video doing well, because people were like, what's this song? This is awesome. So like both the video and the music people were stoked about.
Yeah, what's really cool is, like you said, the video grew the brand, but then the brand kind of grew the video also.
Yeah.
Afterwards, right? Cole Townsend's telling me to tell you what's up. He keeps bugging me on the Instagram here. Says you guys are homies. I said, well, you need to get down there and get some parts.
Yeah. What's up, Cole?
Yeah, and so some of the other places you've gone to Australia.
Yeah.
You've gone to Australia. You did Modball Rally in London. You've been to, obviously Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And so what about some of those other ones? How did those ones kind of fall together?
Modball was done through this. There was this guy I knew. Modball is my favorite and least favorite story to tell, but just to summarize Modball Rally, awesome, kick-ass event. The way it's organized is very cool. Like the guy's network is awesome, but he doesn't take care of his people as well. So a lot of things fall through. There's a huge turnover rate between people that worked for the guy. A lot of big turnover rate on event goers, except because the event is such a fun event, regardless of how poor things logistically may have gone. They still go back, because regardless, it brings together like a rad crowd of people. And so that event's just going to keep living on, no matter how good or poorly things are organized.
Right.
But I met a guy who had been on one of these rallies, and he wanted the opportunity to learn how to film, and he wanted the opportunity to go on the rally for free. And he basically, I just gave him all the information I knew on like buying camera gear, and he had quite the inheritance, and he just like from the drop of the hat dropped like 30-40K on camera gear, and then followed me through the week. And that was in Europe. And then we did the USA Modball Rally. We did the Australia Modball Rally. And then that's when things got a little hairy. But
I got to ask, from that picture, and you're always talking about having your skateboard with you, how often are you shooting and skating?
When I was shooting events like that, I was always on my skateboard.
That's rad.
I would like, if there was traffic on the highway, I'd say like pull over, and I would skateboard on the highway with my camera to get like the shot. Like there's a shot on the USA Modball where I'm with my buddy Carlos, and we're in Miami, and we're going across like the Star Bridge, and I'm skateboarding, filming him with like this cruise ship in the background. But then traffic starts to pick back up, and there's a police officer right behind us, and he pulls us over, and thankfully nothing happened. He looked very angry, but he let us go, which was cool.
I mean, you kind of have a cool story. Hopefully he like buys into the theme,
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've seen a lot of shots of you on the skateboard with the glide cam, getting those like low shots and just zooming by stuff.
Yeah, it's unique. Not a lot of people do it. Just, take what you have some skills at, try and incorporate it into filmmaking as best you can. Like I'm a big music guy, and so I like to bring my taste of music into making the videos the way they are. And then the same thing with skating. It's like I know how to skate. I might as well, make my shots look a little more buttery with that. I mean, we're skateboarding on the track. We're skateboarding in the pits. We're skateboarding in between like millions of dollars of supercars. And, I'm confident in my board control. I've never let it slip below me and hit a car or anything like that. So I've always been able to, it's fun.
That's wild, because our pits are so poorly maintained. You would hit a rock in 2 seconds and just spill all over the place.
You're going to hit rocks, and you have to know how to deal with the rocks. You have to be nimble enough and always have your weight on your back foot, and, be super cognizant of that while keeping your subject in focus and centered, and making sure that it's smooth, and also not hitting a rock and falling over. I've definitely hit a rock and fallen forward, and my lens went straight into the concrete. But that kind of stuff happens all the time, especially when you're filming out of a car and you're hanging the camera down super low. I'm like scratching my hot shoe against the road.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done that before.
Ryan's really good at catching the things I'm good at, and that is breaking everything I drive. So,
yeah. I pretty much always have a big ass, like one of the big Manfrotto plates on the bottom of my camera at all times, just always. And that's saved it so many times when I'm just out shooting rollers handheld or something, and you get a little too low and it just acts like a little skid plate for you.
I had a Canon 5D Mark II with the 1635 fall off the glide cam while I was filming a car, and you just saw the camera and the lens, and the 1635 just broke in half. But I bought a new, like, I like took the lens apart. I bought like the part I needed, got it all back together, and I still was able to use it.
Wow, that's crazy.
And the Canon 5D Mark II is a beast, so like dropping that's not going to affect it. It's only the lens I was concerned about.
That should be a commercial in itself,
right?
Yeah.
So okay, I'm a camera nerd too now, just because of YouTube. I wasn't always, but. So what did you start shooting on, and what do you shoot on primarily today?
So I started when I was 15. I had a little JVC camcorder flip out camera to like film skating videos with my friends. And I used that when I started YouTube. When I also started teaching myself how to work on cars 10 years ago, I would just film tutorials with that little camcorder. And then I mowed enough lawns and taught some guitar lessons to be able to afford a Canon Rebel T1i. And then I bought the nifty 50 1.8 for $100 and filmed like a music video for $20. I didn't even get the $20. After spending like 40 hours editing this music video, I sent them the video. I was so excited about it. And they're like, well, we have the video now. We don't need to pay you the $20 now. Like I started getting screwed over like way early on in my filming career.
That sucks.
But funny little story to look back on.
So what are you shooting on today most of the time?
I use a GH5 and then a little GoPro Hero 8. This is what I've been doing all my YouTube videos with lately.
Perfect. The GH5 is actually such a good camera. Like it just works.
Yeah, the color straight out of the camera is so nice and vibrant. That's the reason I got rid of my Sony when I had the A7S, because I was tired of that gray, flat look.
Yep. Yeah, I've always been a Canon fan for that same reason. I don't have to, like, if I don't want to take the time and put the effort into grading a film, like, or usually it's just if it's a vlog, like I won't bother grading them. And I'm happy to do that because the colors come out so great out of camera. But, you know, you still have the options. It grades really nicely if you want to put something extra on it for like a production.
Yeah. Yeah. Canon. I loved my Canon. I was so disappointed how long Canon took to jump on board the 4K train.
Oh man.
I was holding on for so long, just like, no, Canon's going to come out with something. I'm just going to go from this to the next thing. Eventually I was like, no, I just need to get the GH4. And then I had two of those. And bought the GH5 in Munich, Germany. Bought a Sony A7S in Singapore, which I later sold. I traded that for a 528i because the Sony A7S II came out. I was like, crap, this thing's not worth anything anymore. I got to get rid of it. And some kid wanted to get into filming, so I gave him the Sony A7S and like a Rode video mic and some other stuff, and then he gave me his 5 Series BMW, which I later traded for the E36.
So it worked out perfect.
Yeah.
That's funny. I was in the same boat with Canon. I started shooting on an old 60D that we just had that I like bought for my wife. And then we started YouTube and we were shooting on our phones at first, just like horrible. Everybody's first videos are just terrible. Ours were especially terrible. And then I'm like, oh, I can shoot on this thing that's in the closet. I've got a DSLR laying around. Cool. And so I shot on that 60D with just manually pulling focus on every shot for the first like 3 years. And I wanted to stick with Canon so bad, but they just wouldn't release something that I wanted.
I still shoot manual focus.
Do you?
For everything, yeah.
Well, I guess on the GH5, the autofocus isn't the most reliable either. Yeah. That's true.
and I have a Metabones, which makes it even worse.
Oh yeah.
It is the Metabones S. I paid the $600 for the stupid little ring that now makes my lenses like teeter-totter every time I'm holding it. It's really frustrating. Spending money on the wrong camera gear can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Those Metabones always eventually turn into a loose tooth on your camera.
Do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, when you've got like a heavy Canon lens, like a little adapter connected to a body, and eventually it just like, you put a lot of those cameras go through a lot of hard work. It's like my drill last night burned out. It's just like a tool. Eventually they're gonna break. So, but you're breaking $600 stupid piece of glass.
Right. Yeah, they're absurdly expensive. The look is really cool, but man, it's a lot of money for just an add-on, just an adapter to get that look.
I should have just got Lumix lenses.
You know what I like, and I'm not a camera guy like Ryan, but hearing that you shoot a lot of YouTube on your GoPro, because we just got a new GoPro because Ryan's went in a lake somewhere, and we like take it for granted. We're like, oh, we're too good for that. We're not shooting on GoPro anymore. And everyone's telling us we shoot everything on our phones or GoPro. Stop overthinking it and just
I just had to swallow my. I've always had this coming from a film production background versus being just a YouTuber. I've set this bar that I want to continually raise. And as a YouTuber, you're never going to be successful unless you can afford to have that, person who can create that same look continually do it. And you've got like a budget for them to do it. Right. If you're not making money on YouTube, you can't sit there and spend 3 weeks editing each video. Like you have to be able to like grab the camera, film it, turn it off, like do whatever you're doing, especially working on cars. The workflow slowed me down so much, having to set up my tripod, get this lighting set up. Okay, now everything looks good. Oh, is the background all clean and everything? Okay, now let's go install this one part on the car, and I've got a million things I have to do to the car. With the GoPro, I'm just like, okay, I'm done filming, and I just throw it. Like I work on the car. I could like put the GoPro on my chest. Like I don't need to always have it in my hand, and I don't care about how it looks. I don't even care about how I look. I just like start filming and I go. And unfortunately that's the way I'm gonna focus on doing that till the channel picks back up momentum, till we actually like the algorithm is in our favor. I think that's the best advice if anybody's watching and they're like discouraged by putting so much effort into filming like high production videos for their YouTube channel, and then they're getting like 500 views, 1,000 views, not a lot of engagement. Put the nice, swallow your pride, put your standard down, pick up the GoPro, get the YouTube just pumping content out. And then when you get back to where you want to be, you're starting to get 60,000, 70,000 views again on the videos you're producing, then put a little more effort into production value again, as long as you can keep it up consistent, because like you have to do what YouTube wants you to do or you're screwed.
Ryan does all of our film work, does all of our editing, and spends so much time. And Ryan is such a perfectionist that there's always the one more thing, right? And it's not a knock. What Ryan puts out is really awesome. But that's what everyone is saying lately is just get it out.
It's a bottleneck. It's a huge bottleneck. And I am the worst at that. I'm just like Ryan in that aspect. Like I can't put this video out until I'm like completely stoked about it. And so then I'll sit on content until it expires.
Yeah.
People want to see what's happening now. They don't want to see what happened a month ago. They don't care.
Yeah. I've been so guilty of that because I get so far behind, and it's like, well, I'll put this video out later when I get caught up, and then it's way later.
Right. And then you start stacking footage. Then you start feeling the pressure. You're starting to get overwhelmed. You're like that kid in high school who's bringing home too much math homework, and you don't know how to do any of it. So then you just don't even bother. That's the cycle. I can say I'm proudly fully caught up on my content right now, which is not something I used to be able to say. I mean, for the last couple of years, I've always been weeks
That
out.
almost brings like its own stress though too, because then it's probably a good thing though. But you're like, okay, I need to put out the next video. Well, I got to go do something today because I got to go film something because I don't have a backlog to just go pull from.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the way to go. Like, you know, if we look at guys like Dustin, you know, Dustin Williams is a good friend of mine, and he was following me pretty religiously when he had 900 subscribers, and he was commenting on everything I did. And he looked at TJ Hunt and was like, well, this guy's posting a video every day, and well, this guy's doing that. And he came in at a time where he was able to kind of craft how he was going to create his content. And then he got into the habit of pumping out a video every other day. And now he's got 600,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like blew way past me. Now he's got a McLaren. He's got a house.
I know.
Out. Like,
Yeah.
he's got a puppy this morning for his birthday.
He's just living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah. Dustin, I've followed him not since he was that small, but I think I was in his first 10,000 subscribers, and I really liked him because even some of his stuff he did with like the legend stuff when he started breaking out, he got really cinematic with it. So I really appreciated that he was pumping out, you know, how to do this content and what I'm doing, but then he would still put a lot of work into pieces. And so I don't know. And he's just a super nice guy. Like,
yeah,
you know him. He's like, you meet him and you're like, yeah, you're just super low key, genuine, like really nice dude.
Dustin is if Tiana didn't marry him, I would have. You can't get any better. This guy's the best. Super humble. Like, you know, I hate the I really don't like the format of YouTubers who just pick up a camera and go, and they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing, but they're just posting every day, regurgitating content. And so somehow they're blowing up regardless. I always hated that. But Dustin has a way of doing it where like he just comes off as just such a humble guy that you can't hate him for anything he does. And now I'm doing it. I talk to Dustin every other day sometimes, and he's always beating me up about not putting out content. And I finally 2 months ago or whatever, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I grabbed the GoPro. I'm like, I'm just going to grab this GoPro and just push it out there. And it's not really working out yet. I'm like, I lost subscribers so far, and I'm not gaining any. And the viewership is way down, which is super surprising. But I think YouTube, because I think YouTube takes your like entire span of your career and like your habits, and they see that you've been posting like once every week or something. If you just out of nowhere just start posting consistent content, I think YouTube recognizes it like I'm uploading cell phone videos or something, because they're just not suggesting it to anybody. But I think I'm just gonna keep going. It's
almost like breaking consistency. Probably the other way is they're looking at it like, oh, the channel, what you deliver has changed, even though it's more frequent now. And so we're gonna almost take a step back and try and figure that out before we start figuring who to push that to yet.
Yeah, it's weird. We'll never crack the code on this stupid
algorithm. Never.
I think it'll work out eventually if I keep doing it.
Yeah. And so how long have you been doing every other day? It's been you've had a pretty good run that I've been seeing you pump out a lot of stuff lately.
It's like 2.5 months, I think.
Yeah.
2 months.
And before that, so when like, I guess what was the cadence you had when the channel was really growing at its fastest rate? Or was it kind of up and down forever?
It's been up and down forever. When I would put out, those pretty rad little commercials, they would go wildfire. There would be articles. I would pick it up, and then it would like drive traffic. But it was such a it's like the stock market with Dogecoin right now. It's like going up, straight back down, and then like eventually, like let's say a year from now, say Doge picks back up. That's my channel.
Fucking Doge.
Can we get Zach's endorsement for Doge right now?
Yeah, hey, let's keep talking about Doge right now, because I had some of that, and it did really well for a couple days and then not so well.
When'd you buy in?
I think I bought some at like 7/10 of a penny, so 0.07, a little bit, and then I saw it go to like just break a penny, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a little more, and I rode that up, and then I kind of like got in and out because I was playing I'm like, okay, I got to get out before this thing dumps, and like made some money, but then the last dump, I'm like, oh man, maybe it's gonna go higher, and you get back in, and it's like shit. Well, I just lost some of that.
I just put some in at 4 cents, and I'm just gonna sit here and wait.
Yeah, I'm in at 3.
I think I'm in at about like 3.8 or 4 right now too. When I got back in again, and then it went down and up, and then it's like,
It's not. It doesn't look like it's doing so well right now, but that's okay.
I
had a good day though.
Sidekick back here who just invested today.
Is that your day trader back there on the line?
Yeah, that's
Is he working for you right now?
He's plucking away right now.
Nice. Yeah,
That's Leonardo DiCaprio, and you're Jonah Hill. Just like.
And if he pans a little more,
right?
Yeah, if he pans a little more, there's like 7 strippers off to the side. Yeah, our channel, I tried to be really consistent.
In Bend, Oregon.
What? Bend, Oregon.
Don't expect anything less at a hotel in Bend, Oregon.
Right. Yeah, we tried to be super consistent at first, and granted, we were putting out garbage because you always do it first, so it was terrible. But for a while, I was doing weekly, and it was just really hard because it's this isn't my full-time job. And then our channel was weird though, because when I quit posting, like I posted some higher production things, and then slowly I just couldn't keep it up, so we kind of fell off of posting regularly. And then the channel actually started taking off a little bit, we got some momentum. And now I kind of, after COVID and everything just messed up our whole like life schedules, and, everything changed. We're finally like, okay, I need to get really consistent again. And that's part of the reason we started the lives, is because I just couldn't keep up with putting out enough videos. So I'm like, well, let's do a live stream every other week to supplement an extra video. And, I've got enough people I've met through this who have really cool stories. And so why don't we get them on? I think people would love to hear most of these people's stories. And then it gives us some content that's a little more sustainable because,
I've been considering doing it myself because I've been, I want to start a podcast called Cars and COVID. And just like, I think what's so ridiculous, I know I'm like completely going on a completely different subject, but how everybody this year just wants to keep their mouth shut about what's happening. And everybody has a story. Everybody right now has a story from what they deal with every day, with animosity, conflict, arguments, walking into the grocery store, you've got some assholes staring at you, funny, and then you either get into an argument or you don't. Like, there's a lot of stories to be told. And then from everybody either going on unemployment or losing their business or their lifestyle completely changing, and like, there's so much to talk about right now, and everybody wants to keep their mouth shut about it, and I think it's ridiculous.
Dude, it's so funny. So I travel nonstop. And I was traveling in Seattle when the outbreak happened there. I was traveling in Boise the following week when the outbreak happened there. I think half my family thought I was dead. I don't know. But no, I bought a Jeep Wrangler and went 4x, and that's what I did. I don't know.
I went straight to San Diego when this all happened.
Yep, we did a vacation in San Diego this summer. It's like,
yeah, I went and hung out with Tanner Fox and Hunter Schutz and Coda. They're all like legendary scooterers. They're like the best. They like live within 20 minutes of each other, and they're like the 3 best scooter riders in the world right now.
Well, dude, that's San Diego and skating. It's everything. That's just, Tony Hawk just dumps so much money into that community and support in that community that's what you get from that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one thing I've seen you're not afraid to like hit the controversial things. Cause I know that's one of the things you kind of juggle with. The challenge is how much do you put your opinions out there? Especially like everybody's like, don't talk about politics with friends if you want to have a good evening.
Oh my gosh. I've got a lot of FD driver friends that message me and they're like, yo, Zach, it's not going to look good for your brand to be,
Yeah.
And I don't care. I'm like, we're in a position to completely change somebody's situation, even if it's just simply having this conversation that encourages somebody to speak up to a family member that otherwise they wouldn't be able to see each other because there's just this lack of clear guidance on this. And so it's just crushing relationship opportunities. People are using this as a crutch to hang out with the people they want to hang out with and not hanging out with the people they don't want to hang out with. And they're like, I don't know how safe you've been social distancing and wearing a mask. And I just roll my eyes every time because you'll see them out partying with the friends they want to be around. Right. And so it's I mean, not only is it like the guidelines and the tyranny a bunch of bullshit, but the way even people are receptive to it is a bunch of bullshit, a lot of it. I've hung out with, I can't tell you how many people, no mask, camping at 3-day drift events with 1,000 people. Not a single person leaves the event or is at the event coughing or sick. Nothing's going on. And I think what, I know I'm like totally segueing this conversation to COVID, but what I've been trying to communicate to people from all the stories I've heard of anybody who's been like bedridden and on life support or in the hospital, it comes down to there's this battle right now in the medical industry between greed and the political side of it. And what was I going to say? And mistreatment. People are getting put on ventilators that aren't supposed to be and getting ventilator-associated pneumonia. Then they're on life support because 50% of people survive from that. And,
Well, that was a big problem for you locally. I mean, it was nuts at the early onset of all of this.
Yeah. Like I said, and you're right in the heart of it. Like you were right you're on First Hill, right?
I'm in the worst city to live in. That's
a whole nother interview.
Yeah. Like everybody here. I mean, standing on their own in a park 100 feet away from anybody wearing a stupid mask.
Right.
Everybody, like without fail, is all like in order, doing what they're told. And because of that, I went from, making $5, $6, $7 a month in my shop to zero. And I've got, we've got the whole city victim of fear mongering, and it crushed things for me. So it's just forced me to put more effort into different things, whether it's making money or not. It's like, okay, well, we can't just be depressed, lay in bed all day. Like I got to find ways to grow the brand, grow the business, in some way. And right now the focus is the YouTube channel, doing more fabrication, like growing the fabrication side of the business. And
I was going to ask about that. So have you seen any uptick in that side of the business? Because it seems to me, unfortunately, Ryan and I pretty much stopped working on cars for a while other than by ourselves. But have you seen an uptick in that side of your business with people staying home and working on their projects?
What do you mean an uptick from that?
As far as in your fabrication stuff, like the ZWING bars and stuff like that?
I think everybody's depressed and is laying on a couch scrolling through Instagram right now all year long. I don't think a lot of people have the self-drive and motivation to use this time to get in the garage and start wrenching. Some are, obviously, but a lot of people are just like glued to their phones and doing nothing but watching Netflix and being depressed.
I think surprisingly, that's probably a really accurate depiction of what is going on. I mean, you'd think everybody's like, oh, we're getting all our builds ready, but shit's weird. And there's no events either. So they don't have that drive to say, well, I got to make it to SEMA. I got to make it to Stance Wars. I got to make it to whatever event.
Yeah. Everybody's getting comfortable.
Yeah. Cause I know like I said, we got there, our posting fell off the map, even though we all went to, I'm fortunate enough. I just went to work from home. I've been working from home since this shit started. So I'm here all day. But when I looked back after the first 2 months, it was like, man, I should have been cranking out content. Like this should have been my chance to really pump the channel.
You should have been cranking out content, bro.
Dude, I should have had so much more time.
Ryan.
And it was like
I should have been as well, for sure.
Yep.
I feel like I I could have invested in Dogecoin earlier, but that was you. And you could have been pumping out content earlier, but I guess I did a little better on that. It's been 2 months now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the moral of the story is we could be YouTube stars and millionaires right now if we just figured our shit out.
If we both started investing in Dogecoin at the same time and we both started pumping out YouTube content at the same time.
Yeah, like we'd have like 3 McLarens and we'd be saying, "What's up now, Dustin?" Like,
I was gonna make a Dustin reference too.
Yeah, what up, Dut?
Dustin's awesome though. It's pretty cool how some of these relationships work where, like, you know, Dustin reached out to me via email in 2017. He's like, "Zach, I've always wanted to do a video with you. Is there anything you can think of?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm filming a supercar rally in Vegas in the E36. You want to come drive my car and switch off filming?" And he's like, "Yeah." And
of course.
Yeah, I think he had probably like 80K or 100K at that time, which is pretty awesome. And then he just kept going and going and going and going. Like that guy works harder than anybody I know. I wish I had that kind of discipline.
That's the moral of the YouTube story, though. The ones that are really doing it, except for, you know, who you talked about, that's just putting out, you know, cell phone content daily just to see what happens, is the ones that have the willingness to stick to it and really put their heart and soul in it. Those are the ones that are deserving of it and doing it right. And
I think in every person's life, there's a stage where it's easy for them to sacrifice everything, you know, not going to parties, not having a social life, not worrying about anything else but pursuing success. And for me, I feel like I had that, which was, you know, me doing the commercial films from 2014 to like 2016, but it just never really took off. And so the more and more you keep doing that and living that lifestyle, and you're staying up till 5 a.m. every night, just like push out content and just be the best you can be. The more you keep doing that, but the stairs are not climbing that direction, the more discouraging you get, the more bitter you get, the more burned out you get. So I switched. I was like, screw this. Let's just grow my ZWING brand. Let's stop making commercials for people. Let's stop getting screwed over by certain clients. Because like being in the automotive film industry, you can probably potentially relate to not working with the right people all the time. And, you know, you watch their brand blossom and grow while you're still sitting here like a peasant editing videos and wishing you were making tits money to not have to be doing that.
Right.
Yeah, and at the same time, you're struggling to get paid by them, and you're like, you're killing it right now. Like the least you can do is pay for the content that's getting you there.
Yeah, and to bring some structure back into the conversation, to talk, I'll just create a subject here. The reason why I kind of stopped doing that was when I think DJI probably played a big role. Social media played a huge role, where DJI basically came out with the most affordable gimbal that every kid and their mom bought or got for Christmas, and then just started pushing out free content to, you know, you've got these commercials that are looking for free content. That's all they don't want to pay for video work. So they're looking for kids who are like, I'll do it for free. And then you're sitting there going back and forth on negotiating when you shouldn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
When you're established enough in the industry and you're still dealing with negotiating, or that's picking back up again, that's when it's like, okay, something's going weird here in the industry. And for me, I really got out of that rut.
And that's super frustrating when you start getting into that commercial and professional work, especially like, I know you shoot weddings and real estate, and like on that side, you don't have the same thing. A wedding client contacts you and they ask for your pricing, and you get details on what their day is, and you bid them out and give them a quote. They don't come back and say, hey, well, can you do it for half of that? And like, really, sometimes they're like, I mean, they either come back and say, I don't have the budget, but they don't really try to haggle with you like you get in some other industries.
When you're in like a community of like the car industry, like weddings is a one-time thing that happens in your life. You know, you either know people who can film your wedding or you don't. If you're in a car industry for 10, 20 years, and you're used to having people do video work for you, you're like, oh, well, he says he'll do it for $100. You said you'll do it for 9,000. I'm going to go with the $100. You're like, sweet.
We literally had this conversation today. It's so funny.
Yeah, it sucks.
It
But
does.
the cool thing about the way I've like structured ZWING is, it's now like a small scale conglomerate where when one thing goes downhill, one thing picks up. So if I'm like, okay, maybe I should put some focus into selling merch. I put some time into advertising that, designing some stuff, and we've got an audience big enough where I can push something out, people will buy it. So I spend some time on the merch. Okay, merch isn't working out. Let's see if we can get some editing gigs through our network. Okay, that's not working out. Let's work on some cars. The best thing for me with the shop is I burned myself out so hard creatively that I was just dying to get away from the computer screen. I just wanted to get dirty with my hands and start wrenching again. And so it's nice. It's I go from the garage. I didn't spend a whole day in front of a computer screen. And I come back at about 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and I edit till 6 in the morning, which is not very great. I should just probably go to sleep and then wake up and then start editing. But at the end of the day, with regardless how I feel about social media and how YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook just want your money, you can no longer really grow an organic audience unless you're making bullshit videos on TikTok. We will, as long as we keep growing the ZWING brand in general, whether it's ZWING HQ, selling ZWING bars, doing ZWING merch, anything else, when it's time to come back to ZWING films, when say the channel hits 150,000 subscribers, all of a sudden we have sustainability. The YouTube channel is just going, it's making us money. I can relax. I'm like, all right, let's grab the GH5, set up the Movi. Let's go take the cars out. Let's get some badass content. If I break the car, now I can afford to fix it and not worry about it, versus right now, say I break my car, I'm down for until I can afford to get the car back on the road,
I'm really glad you brought that up. I was reading your bio on your website the other day, and it talked about how that was a conscious decision to separate from ZWING Films as your identity to ZWING, and then be able to branch off of that as kind of like the trunk of your brand. And then you have all these other places that you can go. So it's kind of cool to hear you just talk about that. When I wanted to ask you about it is because,
right on.
Like you said, you lean on whichever portion is your passion at that moment or is making money at that moment, because that's what you need to do to sustain, the roof over your head, the gas in your car, all those things that, lots of people take for granted when they think they blow up or focus on one thing. And then all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out, right? They have no fallback. So I was thinking about that today on how do we do that for our brand, right? Is that possible for our brand? And Ryan, I think, has done a pretty good job with some of his stuff that he does on the side. But at the same time, we're both dads with kids coming into this late. The channel's been live for just over 3 years, Ryan. So it's like, were we too late to the game? What do we do to do that? You got kids.
Like you weren't 17 living at home and then able to just waste your time on a YouTube channel. Like now you've got to be really intentional with your time and do it. I think the thing people need to figure out from my experience of what I'm learning right now and continually learning is there's two things. Okay. There's an argument that if you do too many things, you spread yourself thin and then you never find success because then you're just not incredible at, you're subpar in all these different categories.
Right.
Versus if you stuck with one thing and then you could just take off. But you need to get to a point where if you are excellent at something, but it's not taking off and you keep going in this roller coaster of like, this wave of, summertime's here, bunch of FDers want to make some sick videos. That's awesome. And then once winter hits, where's the clientele?
Right.
So if that keeps happening to you and you keep going back down, that's when you need to say, all right, I need to dial in multiple streams of income. As much as I want to pursue this, it just didn't work out. And it's coming to terms with the fact that, like, hey, I know I'm talented at this, but it's just not working out. Whether it's me, my clients, my situation, my luck, you know, some people, they just, like, there's this, that 20-year-old kid in Washington, Brandon Washness, he just stuck to doing rollers of cars on the highway, filming these fancy cars, and like it just worked out. Like he was getting a ridiculous amount of views. The content's not incredible, but it's beautiful content, like very pretty rollers. Like he uses the right lenses, the right filters. Yeah. He's got a good eye, and like the content is very consistent. He puts it out pretty often.
Yep.
Just worked. And just like Dustin, he kind of just figured out something that worked. He just kept going with it. I'm not that guy. Whether it's my ADHD that like keeps me from being disciplined and consistent to like just ZWING films to skyrocket like that, I needed to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not this person. It's not going to work out for me the same way it did for, you know, DDE, how he went from 50K to 3 million overnight. Obviously there's a lot of hard work involved, but he was consistent. It worked out for him. Yeah. He blew up. It just didn't work. It didn't work out that way for me. So I think for people that are in that same situation that are like, hey, I'm putting so much time and money and work into developing my craft, and I think I'm really good at it, but it's just not working out. Well, start picking up different things, because you're going to be depressed if you're just focused on that one thing. And
I think that's the key to what you were getting at, is it's like your mental health and your drive is all tied together, and it's really important. So yes. I think I'm much more similar to you than I am to Dustin or Brandon, because I have that ADD component where I have to do different things. I have to shoot different styles. I have to try things out and go in different places, or I just can't do it. I lose my mind. And like, I know Brandon, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, I would say his photography is just phenomenal. His video work, it's been cool to see him come along, because at first I remember watching him like, okay, that was good. Like, he got some good shots. And like, even where I was at, I kind of was critiquing it and like, okay, but I didn't feel a story. Like, where was the story arc in this thing? And like, it was lacking some things. He's definitely come a ways in that, but you're right. He really just delivered the same thing, and it took off.
And it worked out.
And it worked.
Power to him, you know, like, and
but even him, I know he's hurting right now because people quit paying for photography, and you despite what most people would have you believe, you don't get rich on YouTube. So I know he's hurting.
I mean, you really can. I mean, Dustin and all the crazy viral YouTubers are proof of that, obviously. But yeah, like, no, I haven't seen a lot from Brandon this year. But this just goes to prove that point as well. It's also, it's a safety net more than anything. You know, what happens when we deal with some bullshit pandemic, and
just like diversifying your Dogecoin.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Like once your services are no longer wanted, think about it as like Logan Paul, but somebody who was, you know, they were nothing but hype. Let's talk about like somebody like Supreme Patty, or somebody on Instagram who just made nothing but stupid videos squirting lemon juice in their eyeballs and like chugging beers. Steve will do it as you're chugging a beer.
Yeah.
he took off. He joined with Full Send. Those guys blew up, whatever. But there's, you know, some people that just stuck to one thing, and eventually their hype faded away, or their services were no longer wanted.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's kind of like being a rock star, and then rock kind of just fizzled out.
Yeah, it changes, and you got to adapt or have multiple things going on.
Yeah. And in the same way, it all comes around full circle. I mean, balance is the answer to everything, honestly, but it comes full circle back to how we produce content on YouTube. It took me a long time. I'm still having a hard time with this, with adapting to, okay, time to create just shitty content, but consistent content. It's not necessarily that it's shitty, but in comparison to like the E30 build series where I've got, we've got lights, cameras, action, the stage is set for me to build this car in a month. And I'm putting furious amounts of hours into both building the car and editing. I don't think I slept for 2 months.
I believe it. I remember watching that build and it was like, you got
I
so
edited
much
all the
done.
videos. I don't know how I did it.
I don't know how you did it either. So, okay, how was the E30 different than the E36? Because I know you built that car for SEMA, and it was way before. You didn't have all the same, the sponsors and the same level. I guess let's start with, how did the E36 come about when you built that for SEMA? And then
I traded that camera for the 528. I traded that for the E36 with a blown S52, and I just wanted the body, and I put it under a tarp for an entire year. So I bought it in 2015. I didn't tell anybody. I kept that car a secret, and in fact, I kept it a secret until it was built and released at SEMA. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna build a car for SEMA. I had it's actually a hilarious story. What sucks is I can't tell all my stories because it involves like power players in the industry that I just don't want to catch a defamation case talking about. Certain people that screw you over. But I have so many fun stories like that. I wish I could go on VinWiki and just like spill my guts out and talk about everything, but it'd probably bite me in the ass later. But there was a guy who is a general manager of one of the companies that is currently still my sponsors, who came up to me at a car show in California called Bimmerfest in front of Michael Essa, and was like, hey, Zach, just want to let you know, we love what you're doing with that car. We know it's going to be this incredible build. We want to offer you a spot at our booth at SEMA this year. And so then I'm like, game on. Now I've got to build this car. Now it's got to be cool. I dropped $6,000 on a crate motor. I, started reaching out to tons of companies. I spent 4 months in pre-production of this build, just creating decks and proposals with Photoshop and Illustrator, and like getting companies to join on. And it was cool. I got to take my experience, just like I brought my experience of skateboarding into filming. I was able to bring on my experience of negotiating with clients in the film industry into, hey, I'm going to build a car. This is the value I can bring to you. And then getting to be savvy in that. And we had some awesome companies that jumped on. I think one of the first ones that joined was Tremec Performance, which is the manufacturer that makes the T56 Magnum.
Right. Perfect.
They've got the transmission and all the Dodge Vipers, Chevy Camaros, Corvettes, whatever other company or manufacturer that's private labeled their transmissions. They were on board. They saw the value that I could bring to them. I offered a lot to all of these companies, like, hey, I'm going to take your product. I'm going to get some glamour shots that can live on your website. We're going to film unboxing your product. We're going to put it on the channel. We're going to, do our best to show you guys off, put a sticker on the car, all of the above. And I'm forgetting where I'm going with this. What were we talking about?
36 build. Getting to see.
Yeah. Oh, so that guy.
Yeah, your buddy Bill. We'll call him Bill.
Bill, man, Bill. Bill, a month in, after I'm like 20 grand into this project, and I've got 10 companies on board, he's like, hey man, really unfortunate news. We just hired a new marketing director down in California, and he doesn't think that your car is fit for SEMA. So as the general manager, I have to listen to the new marketing director I just hired. Okay. I called
Bill.
Yeah, okay, Bill. And oh my gosh, Bill buys an E36, the ugliest E36. It was a seafoam green 97 sedan.
Oh.
And he told me verbatim, your car's not a genuine M3. It's too old. Can't have it at our booth anymore. And I'm like, I'm such a nice guy, though. By the end of the conversation, I believe him. I give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry for like being upset about this. You know, I did just spend $20,000, but no big deal. Whatever. Thanks for the opportunity anyway. And then another employee at the company is like, Zach, did you hear about the build that Bill is doing? And I said, no. And mind you, before any of that happens, what the contingency was we're going to get your car to SEMA, but what you got to do is you got to tell us everything you're going to do to that car, because I got to make sure that car is going to be badass. Okay, we want to know what companies you're partnering with, like what parts you're putting on the car. I'm like, okay, I'm updating him, telling him like, oh, we got a partnership with Felony Form, we got a partnership with this company. Oh, Felony Form, what's that? Oh, it's this body kit company in New York. They're a small company, but they make this badass kit. And they're like, oh, I never heard of that. Interesting. And Bill buys an E36.
Hold on, Zach. I got to stop you.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get his name right because you're very passionate about this Bill thing, and I'm starting to worry. His name's fucking Bill.
No, it's not Bill. It's not
okay.
Good.
And Bill announces on his Instagram, 10 weeks till SEMA, just partnered with Felony Form. This company, all companies that I talked about. And I'm like, are you kidding me, Bill? So I come down in person to the company to confront him. And I'm like, where's Bill? And he's like, Bill's in China, man. He's working with the factory, the manufacturer for our product, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I'm so mad at Bill.
Kill Bill.
But my friend was the voice of reason in my head. And he's like, you know what? Forget Bill. He's like, just use this as motivation to build a cooler car than Bill. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't need Bill. I don't need this company. I can get all of the companies we've worked for that there's somebody who wants my car to be at their booth, regardless of what I have to show for in terms of car builds. And we found a company that was on board. My motivation just like grew through the roof. I was like, I'm going to build this car. It's going to be sick. And we gave it everything. And the build quality of the E36 from like the start was not very great. I built it in my little house garage in Bellevue with my little red toolbox. I did not have the shop that I have now with, years of experience of collecting tools. And so the car really was thrown together pretty quick, but
that's most SEMA builds though. Like, let's be honest, you see some really sketchy stuff there.
And that's the difference between the E36 and the E30 to answer that question that you asked earlier. The E30 was put together with a lot more experience. Just had some unfortunate things happen because of the rushing of the product or of the build.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also went the tougher route with doing a turbo S52 in that thing versus it's an S52, right?
Yeah.
So I thought,
and forged internals, like it's a fully built motor. Did a ton of body work. Did a ton of like everything on that car is different,
right? Versus doing just an LS with a T56 is like it's bulletproof. This is going to work. It's been done before. We could hit this thing with a hammer and just slap it together, and an LS will run. Like if you fuck up an LS, you probably shouldn't cars anymore. You should probably just walk away.
Well, yeah, at least an LS crate motor. Yeah,
brand new one.
Which I then blew up, actually. Oil filter relocation kit. The lines there was no instructions on how to put it together. I was with my buddy Rob, Chair Slayer in Colorado, and we were finishing it up, and he's like, end to end and out to out. That seems right. And I was like, yeah, it seems right to me. So we screwed it in together, but it was supposed to be in to out and out to in. So the oil went through the filter correctly. So instead, the oil went backwards through the oil filter, and then I blew that motor right up. especially because when you're breaking in a motor, you've got a lot of stuff.
You got a lot of junk in there.
Got to change the oil all the time, and like, unfortunate.
Yeah, that car turned out really good, but it's been through a few. That's the original rendition, right? When it was at SEMA.
Yeah, the body, the company that painted the car forgot to paint the side view mirrors.
Well,
they got lost in the group of parts that needed to be painted. You can see there's no side view mirrors on it.
It's a good look, though.
Yeah.
Just all adopt it.
And it's on purpose. The race cars don't need mirrors.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked good. But yeah, that thing really was thrown together. So I've dealt with even currently I'm like redoing all of the wiring on it because there wasn't a lot of time spent into building that harness. Wiring
is one of those big things that until you've done it a few times, it's always like you're always like, why did I do it that way? And it always comes back to bite you at first when you do the first couple.
I still hate it. I hate wiring so much.
Yeah. I gotta say though, one of the coolest things about this car is the cage that you ended up putting in. There's you, and you did get this car on Hoonigan's. I saw that episode way back in the day.
Yeah, that was
trying to sling it around that tiny ass yard. Like, I cringed.
Car was still not really ready for
that
kind of driving, but we did it nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was a blast.
Yeah, it was fun.
But let's see, I was going to get to the cage is one of the coolest things. Like, I love how tightly you fitted this cage for the vert top. Like, you domed the top bars and just everything. Like, that came together so good.
Thanks. I did not do the bending or the welding of the cage, so I can't take any credit for that. But I did all of the there was so much work. There's so much work involved in doing cages. I can't imagine.
Crazy.
I can't imagine people who like run a business unless they have like 10 guys building a cage. Like, it seems impossible for me for one guy to just take on roll cage jobs without going out of business eventually, because that would burn me out. You know, that to me is like editing, spending 3 months editing a video is like spending a full couple weeks on a car doing a cage like that. It's a lot of work.
You know what's crazy is how I picture you. I picture Ryan, of course, because I know Ryan well. You see all of this come together in a video before you shoot or adapt during the shoot to fix it all together. I've known so many fabricators growing up in SoCal and the off-road scene and stuff that if you interrupt them for 1 second, they're going to throw a wrench at you because it's dialed in their head right now. It might be 2 weeks down the road, but they know exactly where that tube is going when they get to that point. It's crazy.
Yeah. Visionaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think on the E30, you had a lot more help. Like, you had so many connections that pulled together to get that car done that you had people who this is their specialty. So the end product just came out like super killer. There's the cage all finished on that thing, but there's the smashed it. That was honestly one of my favorite parts of some of your builds was seeing you smash that thing and then take it down and you guys just tube frame the rear end and like just all the help you had like on the road doing that thing and taking the car places was really cool to watch. So even though like
it's pretty awesome, like what growing a network does for your life. And that's the hugest benefit to Instagram. You know, if people ask like, about clout chasing or whatever, I'm not here to clout chase, but having that following really is pretty awesome because you've got, dude, when I had a flat tire, this is such a cool story. When I trailered the E36, I think I was going back north from LA, probably after Hoonigan is what it was. And somebody let me borrow their like really run down trailer that fell apart on me the whole trip. I was on the highway.
That because your trailer got stolen, right?
That's the first trailer story.
Okay.
That's a different trailer.
Okay.
The second trailer I borrowed, which by the way, the first one we raised $3,000 and got that guy hooked up with an even way better trailer. So that worked out. So I'm glad we were able to take care of that. And that's actually what birthed the ZWING bar. I was like, I need to figure out a way to make money because I'm stuck in Colorado. I have no idea what to do. And Rob helped out big time with that. But the second trailer, I'm like on the highway. It's this terrible rain, and the entire hub comes off. Brake, hub, wheel, everything comes off the trailer. I don't even notice until I pull into a gas station, and I go around to like check everything because you're always tightening down the studs.
Yep.
This hub had a spindle with like no threads on it. It was a piece of shit. And I looked down and I'm like, and I looked up at like a lady at the gas station and I'm like, do you see this? Like, my trailer's missing an entire wheel. And some guy, some kid on Instagram messages me, hey dude, I see you're driving through San Francisco. Can you stop? Can we hang out? And like, no, man. I'm like, I got a trailer to fix. I got a long drive back to Seattle. He's like, oh, my brother owns a trailer repair shop. And I was like, what?
Come on.
Fuck? Like, and I pull into this. He lets me like park the E36 and truck overnight into this trailer shop. And the next morning we go together to go get parts and fixed it right then and there. And then went on my way. And before I even left, he's like, by the way, I have a click tuning E36 convertible Rocket Bunny wing that I don't want anymore. I've always wanted one of those. And he's like, could you just give me some ZWING Films merch when you get back in exchange for this wing? And I'm like, yeah. So like little things like that happen all the time. Like when I brought the E36 down after I smashed at the track, I went down to get a Big Duck Club rear quarter panel fiberglass replacement to just like go over that. And that would have been way, way better if that worked. Such a cool product that RJ makes, except it's like 2 inches higher than the convertible. So it looked really goofy. So I had to return it. And then some kid on Instagram was like, hey dude, do you want to buy my E36? I'm like, why would I want to buy your E36? I got a 1-car trailer. I'm 20 hours away from home. And he goes, well, I'm trying to sell it. And I was like, okay, what is it? And he's like, it's a black E36 convertible. It's like, okay, what's wrong with it? And he's like, oh, it doesn't work. The motor's blown. I'm just trying to get rid of it. And I said, can I have the back half of your car? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? So I go to Harbor Freight, I buy a Sawzall, charges me $100, and I go to town. I just cut off the back end of the car. He's like, I was either gonna sell it or I was gonna part it out. I was like, dude, perfect. Give me the back of your car. And then bought him sushi dinner, gave him my quarter panel that he like now has in his garage, hung up somewhere, and like drove back up to Seattle and took a whole rear end with me and brought the E36 back to life with my gasless Lincoln welder that my friend let me borrow. So you get all these fun stories. I was in Slovenia filming a supercar rally from Germany to Italy, and some kid showed up where we were having lunch. That was a little weird, but it was wild. Like I ran into 3 fans in Slovenia that like wanted to come to the hotel and like where we're staying, and the more that you grow, like that can also pose to be a problem, right? But you run into some cool people, it's whether they're fans of what you do or not, like people are people, and you still get to run into some incredible people. And I've had friends that have come from that, where that come into my garage all the time. I've got people that just want to be in the garage helping out, like learning how to work on a car or whatever, and they end up being really rad people. Like I've had customers that come in that I'm like, my buddy Austin now, he's a skater from San Diego, and I love skating, and he's a rad dude, and he was a customer, now he's a friend. You run into people all over the place. It's just it creates opportunities to network and meet people, whether they're cool or not.
Well, you said it a while ago. It's the relationships, and like you mentioned about COVID, just put a damper on a lot of relationships for people, or let people be more selective about which ones they wanted to associate with. But that's really what we're all in the business of when it comes to this, when it comes to what you're doing at your shop. It's all relationships.
It's what we should be in the business of doing.
Absolutely.
Well, and it takes away that all the events and all the times when you get together with people and realize how small the world is. And that's where a lot of those connections come from, because you're at a car show or you're at Stance Wars or you're going to SEMA and you run into somebody, and it might be the first time you met them, but they're like best friends with somebody else, you know. And then it's like, it's incredible how small the world is when you're traveling around and meeting people, and you have all these connections to people just randomly. And so that's how you grow your network, and it's kind of taken that away.
SEMA is the best. I love SEMA. You're like at I can tell you so many fun stories from SEMA, you know, just hanging out with the big dogs in the car industry, like going out clubbing with Kato from Liberty Walk and Danny Kloss, a famous F1 driver from Barcelona, who, you know, like it's really cool, the equity that you've placed into people that you don't even realize that, like Danny Kloss is a great example. This guy comes up to me in the middle. I was like trying to talk to the marketing director at Garrett Turbos. And while I'm sitting there waiting, Danny Kloss, who's an F1 driver, who's like competed in Monaco and, you know, incredibly talented driver, comes up to me and he's like, ZWING Films. He's like, dude, you are so cool, man. Like, I love your work. You're fucking awesome. I watched your videos, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Who are you? And he shows me, he's got 600,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's like, I took so much inspiration from your videos and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I've got this like friend to hang out with for the weekend who's like one of the raddest dudes you'll ever meet. And it's just from giving 100% into what you're doing. So that's, you know, when I talk about not putting 100% into YouTube, you know, what I wish I could be sitting here preaching is stop half-assing what you're doing and put 100% into your content. But at the same time, we have to make sacrifices in our own like work ethic to get to a point where we can get back to where we want to be. Like, I want to be back where I'm putting tons of time into creating bitchin' content that people want to share and enjoy, but just can't do that right now because it just doesn't benefit the channel, doesn't benefit the growth of the business. You got to just swallow it.
Mm-hmm.
Seth wanted to give you a shout out real quick about your Slaying Seattle video with the Christmas tree. I have to admit, we stole some inspiration from that this year and strapped 2 trees to my race truck and shot some rollers. It was really fun.
You got a race truck?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You were just talking about it, and not to parlay into my stuff, but one of our really close followers, he's become a friend on social media, and he lives pretty close. He's a Tri-Cities guy. He has the same truck as me, but mine was a factory-built Baja truck to launch the brand, and the brand didn't take off, so it was discontinued after 3 years. But I own the race truck, so a lot of guys in that small community of a 3-year run of trucks really gravitate towards it. It's pretty cool. It's a Mitsubishi Raider, which is basically a Dodge Dakota, rebadged with all different body panels. But I don't know, Ryan, if you have a picture handy, you throw it up.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I want to see this thing.
It's a hell of a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. We just shot a video last weekend that didn't go as well as we anticipated because we got a new sponsor on board and we were supposed to get the truck stuck to showcase his product. Oh, and it did not work out because the ground was frozen.
Oh, sick.
So we ended up just shooting like that truck on Jeep trails.
That looks like a Subaru Outback.
Those the fender lines.
With a pickup truck. Dude, that's sick.
Yeah, so that one's full caged, frame on still, but full cage front bumper to rear. King coilovers on the front with triple bypasses in the front and back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so this
King Max suspension.
What's that?
Did you say King Max suspension?
King shocks.
Oh, King shocks.
Yeah, they're big in the off-road community. Probably the biggest.
The blue and silver.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, so this truck was actually the truck built and sponsored by Mitsubishi Racing.
Wow.
So it won the Baja. I don't know if we have an original picture. Man, I don't know where we got one. Oh, here we go. So that was the truck when it won in like 06, 07. It took first and then third. So it was all Mitsubishi'd out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool that truck, found its way to Josh.
What's the C30 I'm seeing? Is that yours?
No, so this is actually my buddy. His name's Colby, and he owns a shop over here in Hayden called Inland Northwest Performance. So yeah, he wide bodied his E30.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that thing before. It's pretty clean.
You'll have to. Ryan shot a really sick video for him when he launched that car. Was that one supposed to be a SEMA build, Ryan?
He was gonna take it to SEMA, but he's kind of like you. He just has a one-man shop. They just moved into a bigger spot, but he kind of was looking at SEMA and was like, "Man, I'm gonna have to be gone for like almost 2 weeks by the time I trailer it down, get there early enough for them to roll the cars in, days early." And then he's like, "Man, I'm gonna have to close the shop for a week and a half at least. I'm gonna have to get everything down there. This is gonna cost me like 15 grand." And so he didn't end up doing it. The small business owner struggle. I was trying to find more pictures I have of it. The thing is super clean.
Yeah, nice.
It's really, really well done.
He took that to Stance Wars though, didn't he?
Yeah, unfortunately, you would have saw it if you weren't locked up that day.
Oh, I saw it from jail. I had video chat.
Oh, nice.
You can I saw Navi would basically hold up a cell phone while filming with his cell phone, show me.
Oh, that's legit.
It was pretty awesome. So as I'm sitting in jail, I'm coordinating with my intern at the time and Dustin and some other people. I had this little piece of paper that I wrote a bunch of phone numbers on before I went into the pen. And I would call, people would put money on my books to talk to me. And I'd be like, I called Dustin and I'm like, "Hey, Stance Wars Seattle is happening and I can't go to it anymore. I need you to fly to Seattle and take my car because it was supposed to be there. And this would be a great opportunity for you to make some vlog content." And after I coordinate with my intern to grab my car out of the parking lot in the jail and bring the car up to pick him up from the airport and then to give him the keys to my apartment and everything. So Dustin could live here in my apartment, while I was down there. Mm-hmm. It all happened. And when it was done, Navi called me and I was like, "Okay, I need to see this video." So I've got this group of 15 jailbirds huddled around me looking at this video screen of Navi holding a cell phone, showing Dustin's video taking my car to Stance Wars. It was the coolest thing ever.
Oh my god, that's rad.
That video was awesome. I remember because I talked to Dustin at Stance Wars and he's like, "Yeah, I drove Zach's car here actually," and chatted with him for a while and then saw the video come out. So it was kind of cool to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah, Dustin's awesome. That was so fun. That was so rad that he was down for that.
Super cool impromptu trip.
I want to be able to do more stuff like that. I want to have, I want YouTube to be making some money so I could be like, "Do I want to just buy a plane ticket to San Diego tomorrow? Let's do it. And then let's make some content." My ultimate goal is to build a shop down in SoCal, close to kind of Temecula area, just or Oceanside or something like that. And then have the E30 live there. And then when I want to make content, collaborate with Amelia, collaborate with Dustin, Tanner Fox, other big YouTubers down there that want to make content together. I just fly down, we plan something. I'm like, "Hey, when do I need to go down there?" Go jump in the E30, drive over, and we're making content. That's ultimately what I want to do. And I don't think we're too far off from being able to eventually do that.
That'd be
awesome. So good. Yeah.
We're pursuing drifting this year with my buddy Corey Keyser, who is an ex FD Pro 1 driver. He's jumping back into it, and he's a mad talented driver with an incredible build. So,
what's he running this year?
He's got a LS6 turbo swapped RX-7 FD.
Okay, sweet.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and he's a phenomenal driver. So it's awesome to have his car be so on brand with mine, and him being willing for us to both. I think if we go into the season together, our opportunity of locking in sponsorships is way greater because we've got two badass builds that companies are going to want to put their real estate on. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I'm trying to change my requests though. like, I don't want parts anymore. We need to really focus on locking in some monetary sponsorships because we can't keep doing this thing for free.
Right.
This car is so expensive.
Oh yeah, and you've got the car pretty well set up, so you're kind of at the point where you're like, okay, I need tires, but I need money to live off to get to these events, and I need travel fees, and I got to get there and live there.
And I still need money for the tires.
Right.
Biden is implementing an 88% tax on tires right now. 88%.
God damn it.
Because of the environment.
When's that go into effect? We need to crank out some more burnout vids here, Josh, on the channel. Before,
Well, I've been working with a guy, and we're working on some
tonight.
marketing stuff for him that's hopefully going to turn into 6 tires for the race truck, front tires for the Supra, and some new tires for my Jeep, because they are the worst balanced tires I've ever had in my life, and they need to go in the fucking garbage.
Yeah. You've been chatting with Tire Stacks?
No, I'm not. Thank you for the nod, though. I will make that note.
They're the title sponsor for Formula Drift this year.
Oh, rad.
yeah.
I think they were this year or last year as well.
Sweet. Well, we blew past our hour, Zach. I kind of knew we would, though.
Yeah.
Always happens.
That's easy to happen. So I kind of want to wrap up.
I got sidekick asking about what's for dinner, Dad. Come on.
I'm sure you've got editing to do, so I want to be respectful of your time. But I always have a couple wrap-up questions I like to ask people.
Sure.
So I want to know, what is the most fun experience you've had on this journey since you started this whole thing, and who's one? It's probably not the most, because I know you met a lot of people, so that's probably really hard to nail down to one. But who's a really impactful person that you've met along the way?
Casey.
Oh, I had that picture. I'm actually really glad you said that, because I saw that on.
Go to zwinghq.com/films, and that's the best. Yeah, that's the best photo to pull up.
I've got it. I saw that on your website, and like I said, we kind of nerded out about film and stuff. So Casey is just a huge influence for me. The dude tells stories without even thinking, and you don't realize there's a story in it. And so, how did this happen? Like, how did you meet him?
Casey was such an inspiration to me, being somebody who didn't have a lot of money, who didn't come from a rich family. Like, I couldn't just ask my mom for a camera. Like, my parents would buy me shit. I had to work very hard to get whatever I wanted to run my business, and it's continued to be that way. I don't have a safety net if things go wrong, so I've just got to like rely on my work ethic to get me through hard times. And Casey Neistat was the embodiment of, don't have a lot of money, want to create stories and make badass video content, follow me. And he's making commercials for J. Crew, Nike, Adidas, like using a little point and shoot camera. And so that's a huge inspiration. And I'm in Dubai, and this girl who was a contractor for me, she had just helped me edit a commercial I did for like a weed company. And she reaches out to me, and she's like, she's such a sweetheart. She's like, Zach, hey, how are you? Hey, just so you know, Casey's in Dubai. You should try and connect with him while you're there. And it was literally just a tip from this girl that led to me realizing that he was here. He was doing a Google conference for YouTube, because Casey was hot shit. Like, people loved Casey. And this is before. So I email him, and I'm like, hey man, I don't know if you've ever been in the passenger seat of a supercar, but I'd love to give you the opportunity to hang out with us and come along. And I just convinced my client to bring this. He's like, who's this Casey guy? And he takes a look at my Vimeo, and he's like, well, his email back to me after I bring that up is, I forget what he said, but it was like 3 words. It was like, hell yeah, I'm down. It was like, and we met up in Jumeirah in the back of a taxi cab, or we jumped in. Before we got into the back of this taxi cab, he comes up to me and he's like, I took a look at your Vimeo, and you've made some of the most incredible car videos I've ever seen. And I was like, like
fangirling.
Yeah, because I'm like huge fan of Casey, and I'm like, oh my god, that means a lot. And we get in the back of this taxi to head over to hang out with my client. And he's talking to me in the back of this cab about this unique idea that he hasn't told anybody yet of this daily vlogging thing that he's going to start.
So this was way back.
Yeah. And then he runs over his foot and my skateboard get run over, skitching behind his McLaren. He's like, hey, can we get a photo while I'm with you guys of me skitching behind a supercar? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I'm filming that. And that footage made it in Casey's first ever daily vlog, which, as we know, changed YouTube forever.
Oh, yeah.
The algorithm I blame on Casey, because people just started left and right pumping out daily vlogs to copy him. And then, YouTube's like, what do we do? We're getting 1 billion uploads a day now. We need to change things. So it was pretty cool to be a part of that before he started, but we still keep in contact, not so much anymore because he thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist now, but
that's funny. That's pretty cool though. I'm glad you brought that up because I had that picture on deck just because I'm, like you said, I'm a huge Casey fan being a YouTuber, and like I'm so into the film aspects that there's a lot of those guys I look up to more so even than the car community YouTubers and filmmakers just because of what they've done.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we're on like a texting basis. Like we hit each other up every now and then and see how we're doing. And I've yet to get him in the passenger seat of the E36 though. I don't know why it's been so hard. You're on mute, by the way, Josh.
You're on mute, Josh.
Sorry, my computer died, and I did not realize I muted myself, so I had to go get my cord.
Oh.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's such a cool story. Like, I think, yeah, I would totally fangirl. I'd be just like you. I'd be in awe if I met Casey, let alone was like texting him on the daily, just like checking in, little stuff. That's
and I connected him with a lot of different people in the car industry because he would hit me up when he would fly to different places and, hey, who do you know in the car industry that can help me do this or whatever?
That's super cool.
I just wish he would fly up here and I could take him drifting.
That would be a great vlog, and he's been getting back to daily a little bit.
It would be a great collaboration that would pull my ass out of this slump, potentially. Is still yet to happen.
Awesome.
But,
like I said, I want to be conscious of your time, so I think we should wrap and let you get to editing. I'm sure you got hours of stuff to do, and then you probably want to go to bed at some point.
I don't need to worry about going to sleep because I don't do that. But we got a sick video coming out in the next couple days. Mason, who's in the bathroom on FaceTime with his girlfriend in Australia right now, he showed up to the garage yesterday, and we filmed. So my apprentice, who's been working for me for the last 2-3 years, has always wanted a swing bar. Always. So every time we make a swing bar, we use his car to test fit it, and then we take it off his car, give it to the customer. So he's always like, I want it so bad. And it's his birthday today. So happy 18th birthday to Jack. And his dad and I have been coordinating, like trying to surprise him. And so he's been going to welding school for the last 6 months. So I told him yesterday, hey man, I think you're ready to weld together your first swing bar. And once he finished welding it, we told him it was his, and he was like, what? That was cool. So it makes the film the whole day. So I think it'll be a really rad video.
So you kept that under wraps all day while he welded it together? You burned the whole thing and you didn't spill it?
Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're stoked about it.
When's that one dropping? Tomorrow? Next day?
Well, I released a video this morning, so I'm trying to go for every other day. But we filmed this on a really nice, I think it was a Sony, what's the newer Sonys that are out right now?
Is it the A7 III or the A7?
Is it an S3? Is that a thing?
Could be the S3.
I think it's the S3. So we filmed it all on a gimbal and an S3. So we're like going back up to a little high production value here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some good lighting. But whatever. I'm going to see if I can slap it together faster than I usually do.
Perfect. So you guys heard him. Before the end of the week, go check out Zwing's channel, Zwing Films on YouTube. Watch that one. Anything else you want to shout out that's coming up?
Man, I don't know.
Just
That's a
videos
yes
every
and a
other
no
day.
at the same time. I would love to, but I cannot.
Yeah.
My parents, hope you guys are having a good time tonight. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. To the 2,500 of you that are in our group chat right now.
Yeah.
Shouts to them. BoostRodeo, Josh, Cleaver, 25. I'm guessing that's you, Josh. But
Yep.
Straight Six fan, a shout out to you. Cleaver 253, Christian Medellin, Cayman, Prancing Pony, and the other 2,500 of you that are just watching and not saying
Hang
it.
out.
We appreciate you all.
All right, man. Well, Zach, I really appreciate you coming on. This was super fun. I appreciate watching you as a YouTuber because I know you've I've messaged you a few times over the years, like when I get frustrated and stuff, and I've had some of those venting moments. And so I think seeing your frustration, even though it sucks to be where you're at, and I feel that's helped me because it's, we're always looking at that person who's above us. And so whether you have 1,000 subscribers and you're looking at the dude who has 10,000, or you have 50,000, you're looking at Dustin, who, is going to be coming up on 1 million here. You give him a little bit of time, or then Dustin, is looking at TJ and Throttle and those guys. And so there's always that next level, but I just want to say I appreciate you because you have been that next level for me. And even watching you get a little bit frustrated with the algorithm and that perfectionism that we both kind of share this year has really been helpful for me to say, okay, other people are going through that too and struggling with the same things I am. So
yeah,
I want to say
I think more people need to be willing to share the human aspect of their life and not try to keep up this perfect persona of like, everything's so great about my life. And, that's the most depressing thing about this journey is when you open up Instagram and then you just see your next level crushing it and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're just having such a fun time. Yeah, I can imagine, like, it's nice to be able to hear somebody talk shit about your own life and know that they're struggling too.
Absolutely. No one sees the struggle on social. Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not sunshine and butterflies. And to any of you that want to be a future intern, it's not sunshine and butterflies. You have to work hard. It's a lot of hard work.
Awesome.
A lot of hard work.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks to everybody in the chats. I think we're going to wrap and go subscribe to ZWING Films and hit him up, ZWING on Instagram and all the things. We'll catch you guys later.
ZWING scribe. ZWING scribe.
ZWING